Till now, and we will continue with the next session. This is section number 6. So today it's been a great day looking to solutions. This is fully aligned with the solutions days, and so we went from digital applications, how they are integrating with carbon market developments. And the session that we have now is extremely important for the Global Innovation Hub. It is a session that is looking into the integration of different angles and enabling factors for the implementation of carbon markets. It is a pleasure to introduce to you a session that is looking into fairness, how fairness and carbon markets are combined to make this implementation as prioritized by COP27, an inclusive process, an inclusive opportunity to advance with climate action, but also to do that in a way that is compatible with the SDGs and with the equality agenda for everybody. So we see how the developments on carbon markets, particularly Article 6, Article 6.2, 6.4, the mechanisms are progressing. So the Secretariat and the Global Innovation Hub are also looking on the means to enhance capacities through its RCCs, expanding the capacity of the participants to the mechanism. And we need to do it right. We need to do that in a fair way and capitalizing also the synergies of the key actors of this carbon market. So we will have today a very strong messages from key participants, key enabling organizations that are advancing with the carbon markets. With now further ado, I'd like to pass the floor to a good friend of the Global Innovation Hub and the Secretariat. He is Patricio Lombardi. He's leading the Foundation for Carbon Market Fairness. Patricio, it's a pleasure to have you here. You will be moderating the session from here forward. Thank you and much welcome to the Global Innovation Hub.
Thank you, Carlos, very much. We should sit?
Okay. I think you can sit as part of the panel.
Join us, Ousmane. Good evening, everybody. What a day, eh? Solutions Day. Welcome to the Global Innovation Hub. Thank you very much, Masamba. Thank you very much, Carlos. Silvia, thank you for all the details. Thank you, all of you guys. Okay, what we are here today, we're gonna explore how digital MRV can help enhance fairness in climate action. Very good topic. We also explored, yes indeed, we also explored what needs to be done to upscale the development and the deployment of digital MRV in carbon markets. Okay? So they gave me a guideline here, but I'm gonna give the floor to Mr. Thomas Ford for the opening remarks, please. Mr. Ford, the floor is yours.
So thank you for inviting me here to give some opening remarks. I'm not the one who is working on digitalization, but on carbon markets. I'm a representative of the German government from the Ministry of Economy and Climate Action, and at the same time from the Foundation Future of the Carbon Market. In this year, we have supported a little bit the Climate Secretariat to come forward with methodologies, the update of the CDM methodologies, and of course, the digitalization is on the top of the new updated methodologies. That's a chance, and I think this is very important. And also, we have done something for the framing. We have spoken about the upscaling of the activities, that we come away a little bit from the single-based approach and give a better framing, so that it's an aspect of fairness, in my view, that we support more the NDC progressing over time and the alignment with the long-term goals of the Paris Agreement. That means that we need some more figures in the baseline. As in the last session, standardized baselines had a very prominent role. and I expect that we'll have also in the future. But there is a big difficulty, and I hope we will address it in the next processes on methodological work. That is that we need in the input numbers the contribution of the host country respected. That's very important that we not take it only from the business as usual cases or from an abstract ambition question where it's additionality defined, but there is a political component in these cases, because it depends from country to country how it's moving forward, and this has to be brought together. This is one aspect of the work, and how to digitize this, it's a little bit difficult, I think, because no one has done it before. So the next point is certainly who can benefit from this, and I think we have seen in the carbon market under the CDM many projects with tiny potentials addressed, with local communities, with small stakeholders. I think they will benefit of it. And that's very important that we increase the number of participants in the markets. And even if it's a small business, they can contribute to the needed emission reductions sooner as we have expected 20 years ago. So my impression is that this is a chance for them, especially when the host country's government give a framing, a political recognition of their work, and then the digitalization will help this. So I stop here because it's not my part. Here's a honorable panel, and I give back to the moderator.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ford. Good. Let me introduce you to the panel first. Madame Margaret Kim, CEO of Gold Standard. On my right, on my left, Mr. Ousmane Sarr, Coordinator for West Africa Alliance for Carbon Market. I'm going to start with one question, and I was looking to the guideline here, and I'm not going to follow the guideline because there's an easy question to break the ice, Madame Margaret. How does a fair market mean for Gold Standard? What is a fair market for you?
Thank you. Can you guys hear me well from the back? Yeah, perfect. All right, so fair market, I think this is a topic that we really grapple with, because that is one of the reasons why Gold Standard started its existence, to ensure that there's environmental integrity and sustainable development for all. So for us, fairness in the market means credibility, accessibility, transparency, and security. And in order to bring those ingredients of fairness to the market, I think the digital MRV and digital platforms or digitization of the processes will really enable that more fair market. That's how we see the fairness of the market. And in terms of, if I can elaborate slightly more,
please.
In terms of the market data, it needs to have those four ingredients. It needs to be credible, it needs to be transparent, it needs to be accessible, and it needs to be, I always forget it needs to be secure. We can't underestimate that. So I think there's a incredible amount of pressure put on standards like ourselves, because we're still operating a lot on analog basis, but the technology industry doesn't wait for us. So how do we as a standard partner with various actors in the market, and I'll probably go into the details of those working groups later, but that's really key. How can we partner with others to really drive that speed? Because what we're good at is we're the guardians of quality. We can define integrity, but we're not experts in defining digitization principles or the digitization actual implementation. So we're trying to gather partners and stakeholders in the market, the leaders of them, to really figure out how can we digitize the entire workflow from supply side all the way to demand, and address the interoperability with different systems so that those four ingredients to fairness can be realized.
I was looking, Madam, you were talking, I was looking some familiar faces that for sure you can partner after that because they know about how to speed up the process. Mr. Ousmane, I was lucky to be in Senegal 2 months ago with Massamba, with you, seeing some blue carbon projects. So my first question to you will be, you are a project developer and with projects involving communities with low capabilities. What have you put in place to ensure that these low-income communities can benefit from the carbon market? And how can digitalization help?
Thank you, my friend, my dear friend Patricio, and good afternoon, everybody. I'm very happy today to attend this meeting and to be able to share a bit of our experience in terms of innovative way to address climate change and carbon markets. It's a big pleasure for me to share my views and comment on that issue. And as you mentioned, everything started in Senegal when we get together 2 months ago discussing fairness on carbon markets in Sali. That's where many ideas came out and give us more strength to work deeper on some certain issues relative to digitization and link them with carbon markets. I think that it is something that is really important. But before tackling this issue, we should share a bit of challenges that we were facing when it comes to develop carbon market projects. One of the biggest issue is the access to finance. We have in West Africa, in Senegal in general, many carbon market projects dealing with cook stove, dealing with solar home system, all these micro-scale projects that are implemented at an individual level, and sometimes access to finance, access to equipment can be really problematic for the poor local women in rural areas, for example. But what innovative way should we put in place to facilitate access to this, for example, poor lady to a cook stove in rural areas? So this is a challenge because before being able to generate carbon credits, you have to implement the activity. So this is one challenge we are facing. The other challenge is when you start implementing your projects, you have to put in place an appropriate MRV system that can enable to track, to count, and also to report. This is something that is very, very challenging when it comes to manage micro-scale project like cook stove project or like solar home system project. If you are not well organized enough or you don't have enough means to put in place a very performing MRV system, it will be very difficult to deliver this project. So transaction cost is an issue for most of our project. We need to find a solution to that. The other issue is the revenue sharing from our projects. What can a beneficiary get from this carbon project? This is an issue that we always deal with in implementing our carbon market projects. So all get together, put on the table a real problem of fairness. How could be organized, how this system could be organized in a more fair manner so that at the end of the day, you will have good price for carbon credit, you will have a good system of revenue sharing in place, and you will have a better involvement of beneficiaries or local communities. That's where we think digitization can bring an added value in terms of streamlining the process of project development, because we've a lot work on the negotiation side to have methodologies and all these issues digitized by the UNFCCC Secretariat, and I really take this opportunity to congratulate Mr. Masamboche, who have been working for a long time on the digitization of methodologies that can be very helpful for developing countries like Senegal, like countries who are in West Africa. So using digitization can be very helpful to develop projects, to MRV the projects, and also to use the new technologies like blockchain to add more value in terms of resource mobilization and in terms of revenue sharing. So that is where we think digitization can add an added value in carbon market in developing countries like Senegal, like West Africa. So that is the main issue that came out in our discussion in Sali, and I would be very glad to hear also from one of the participants who've been very active during the event. I mean, my colleague Idrissa Jata, who has to tell you about a story we all shared during our workshop, because we had to answer to a question: how can innovation help address, help local and isolated communities to address vulnerability to climate change? Because we have, among the participants, local communities coming from Senegal and facing many challenges in terms of climate change impacts. How innovation, how collaborative approach can help address these challenges. And we had a very interesting discussion, and I will be very glad to hear from Idrissa to share about how we come up with an appropriate solution for this community. So this is the second part of my intervention, and I would like him to take the floor.
What I like about Ousmane is he's a fantastic speaker, and he also do questions and answer all together.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Ousmane. I was good over there, just listening. Yes, definitely. Sally workshop was a great moment where we were talking about interesting things and how the fairness will be really executive and effective in the local community. And things were quite interesting. And with discussions, we come up with this idea to mingle certain things. And I will do a summary of my narrative revolutionary speech.
Your dream.
Because in another event, I was like sharing this revolutionary things happen when you have an idea, and innovations as well happen when you have an idea which will have 3 steps. The first step is absurdity. It's absurd. And then the second step is dangerous. It's dangerosity. It's dangerous. And the final step is obviousity. It's obvious. When you have an idea and people think that it is stupid, just know that you are hitting the button. And we have examples. The right, I was sharing with the woman's right for vote, for instance. The first time people heard about it, it was like stupid. And then it was like really dangerous. Wow, women will vote? It is crazy. And right now, it's really obvious, right? And the same thing happened to the internet. The first time when we were saying, hey, internet has to be to the broader people, people were saying, no, it's stupid, how it can be, because it is a military, mechanism. And then people were thinking, oh, it will be dangerous if everybody can have internet and GPS, it will be the worldwide, war. And right now, it is so obvious to have internet. Definitely. So when we talk about fairness in carbon markets and like the innovation involved and the private sector involved as well, I'm really angry when I see that the metaverse, do you know about metaverse? It is a virtual world happening right now. People are putting trillions and billions of USD in the metaverse. It is virtual. People are putting trillions and millions of USD to go to Mars. It is another planet. What people are doing, where we are exactly, we are at Sharm el-Sheikh. It is not virtual and it is not to Mars. So, and people are putting trillions. I want to talk to my Dean Masamba. How many billions do you have in the Innovation Hub? It is critical. Yes, definitely. And all this, it is like my, the sound of my heart to say, innovation has to be funded. We have to move forward this. And we have this idea to build maybe the first smart and carbon neutral cities program, where we will put innovation in the heart of this program. And when the program will aim to have a direct impact in the pocket of this woman in his household, just because she is using cook stove and clean cooking, and have right away in his pocket because of her eco behaviors, being eco-citizen, she is valued, she is paid for doing that, and it is an incentive. We do know that in Africa, mobile application, for instance, everything related to mobile wallet and mobile banking is right now trivial and obvious in Africa. Everyone are using it because the mobile and the mobile applications are really a great channel to broad things and make it prosper. So this specific idea is to have this DICI or DC, digital cities, where everyone is connected, and with 5 components, maybe we will see all the digitalization of the municipalities' services integrated, having this concept of e-card carbon, where everything related to natural carbon activities such as conservation, waste management within circular economy, energy and energy efficiency, as integrated in a single platform, where the people and the population living in this territory are being granted because we just build a carbon market program with these areas. That's why we think this is idiot and it's stupid, but we know that we are on the fair path to go to the revolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Idrissa, for sharing the dream.
What an energy, huh?
Yeah.
If you go to Senegal, you're gonna see, you're gonna experiment that energy, and also a very important word that we experiment in Senegal, that is teranga. So thank you for the hospitality that we felt in Senegal. If you have never been there, fantastic place to go and see the project that they are doing. Madam Margaret, Gold Standard is working on the development of the digital methodology. How is the development of such methodology contributes in enhancing the fairness of the carbon market?
So I don't know how I can be inspirational after that speech, so that's a bit unfair. So I might be relatively boring compared to your inspiring speech. So Gold Standard last year launched an open collaboration program funded by google.org to develop a best practice guidance on digital infrastructure, digitization, digital practices in the carbon markets. So that collaboration has 3 working groups. And this is important because it relates back to my statement about the value chain of the project design and implementation. So the first working group focuses on digital MRV, precisely on the supply side of the market, where we need digital methodologies so that the impact data can be inputted into the system and digital MRV solutions can be plugged into that platform, and finally come to a good monitoring results from that process. Second working group is on digital assets, and I know this is a very trendy topic and I see a number of familiar faces around the room. So digital assets tokenization. So it was a completely foreign concept to me 2 years ago when people started talking to me about blockchain. I felt very stupid. I think I somewhat understand. So I'm gonna try to explain it. So we really appreciate the introduction of blockchain tokenization in the demand side of the carbon markets. I think that's where some of the fairness discussions and some of the benefit sharing can be really transparently transferred to the beneficiaries of those projects. The key element that we all need to be mindful of is the balance between the speed of supply side and the speed of demand side. Because tokenization, I look around this room, there are a lot of leading tokenization providers and technology providers who can do this overnight. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but over a few days. But the supply side, the reality is many standards are still working with PDFs and Excel files. So how do we consolidate that? How do we make that talk to each other? I think that's one of the roles of this second working group, the digital assets. What's the role of tokenization? How can that help the supply side? And finally is the digital infrastructure and open API. So once that supply demand is created in a digital workflow, how can one standard's work be interoperable with another platform, national registries, local registries, other standards, other mega registries? So how can we as a standard be enabling that condition? So those are 3 working groups. We had crazy amount of signups for those working groups, and we hope to come out with an outcome that will consist of white papers, digital pilot programs, and also some of the digital architecture we can probably share with the public fairly soon. I should know the deadline, but probably early next year. And the important thing about 3 working groups is not gold standard thing. It's going to be a public, open sourced, accessible knowledge and examples. So I really look forward to sort of getting your, and many of you are already part of that working group, so I look forward to getting your input in helping us shape that best practice guidelines and principles. And of course, in order to do that, Gold Standard needs to step up the game and really digitize its own work process so that these different innovative solutions can plug into the Gold Standard journey and other standards journey.
That was very interesting, huh? And a lot of people, they were like that. So it was very good. Huh? Ousmane, I know that the question that now goes to you, she already answered, but she's from Gold Standard and you are not. So the question for you is, in the most of the carbon market transaction, I like this in the way that that the question is putting. In the most of the carbon market transaction, buyers have more bargaining power than the sellers, pretty much in all of that. Huh? Well, how can digital technology can help to get a fair price in carbon credits, Ousmane?
I think the answer has already been given by by my co-panelists. The solution is to use these new technologies. The tokenization, blockchain is a appropriate answer to that. So it will put the seller on the driver's seat. And I think that is something that will create this kind of revolutionary change that Idrissa was talking about when he was dreaming, seeing a lady, by the fact that she was using her cook stove, have automatically his carbon credit in the pocket. So this can be done only using tokenization and blockchain technology. But what I wanted to add on that, I fully buy the idea already expressed by my colleague. But last month I've been attending a workshop in Paris, and the main topic was the use of digital solution on carbon markets. But when we talk about all these issues relative to blockchain, to tokenization and all these issues, one of the main issues raised by some participants was, oh, it's risky. There might be an opportunity for money laundering, for all bad practice. But the problem is not the system. The problem is what we do with the system. So we need to see how we can fix this kind of behavior, but not to say this system is not applicable or is too risky or it can create this kind of very conflicting situation. So I think that this is the way we should address these new technologies. And I would like really to take this opportunity to raise awareness on that issue. We need to work on the system. We need to work on how to use the system. That is the main challenge from my side if we want to have it very impactful and to make a more fair market for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ousmane. The UNFCCC has developed a digital standard and is working, Madam, on digitalizing the entire methodological framework. What type of collaboration could be put in place to leverage synergy?
So I always start with this. Gold Standard is a small NGO. So we can't reinvent the entire digital ecosystem, and just that's not possible. And UNFCCC, I mean, Gold Standard's been around for 20 years, UNFCCC much longer. So whoever sort of leading those digitization efforts through these partnerships, we need to learn and make sure that we're not reinventing parallel systems that's confusing a lot of people, which is a general feeling of the carbon markets right now. So I think it's important that there's cross-pollination of expertise. So if UNFCCC's done a number of digital methodologies, then we should learn from that. For example, Gold Standards currently, with support from government of Sweden, is digitizing our SDG tools that's applied to all of our projects. So there should be a good synergy between UNFCCC's digital methodologies and also the areas where Gold Standard's leading on. And how that all comes together for users, I think it's the challenging part, because what I spoke to our project developers early this year, where some of them have very small microscale projects in the most vulnerable communities, and they're concerned this efforts for digitization, some of them are concerned that they will be marginalized through this instead of being the biggest beneficiary of the change. So how do we make sure that they can build the capacity, they can build the accessibility, and what's the role of UNFCCC and partners like Standards like us to ensure that we create that easier interface for those remote communities, smallholders, to access those just out of the pocket, the cook stove, MRV information entering the system, and the digital asset or the carbon asset coming into their pocket. How do we create that without marginalizing those most vulnerable communities? I think that's an open challenge that all of the working groups are trying to think about, and I think that's something that UNFCCC's been really thinking hard on. So looking forward to creating a partnership and learning from you. Yep.
Thank you, Margaret, very much. Do we have any question? Okay. Before, no? Yes? We're going to give the floor. Yes, yes. Sandra from Climate Focus will provide a statement at the end. So, Sandra, the floor is yours. I'm sorry, let me introduce Sandra. Is a lead from the lead consultant Climate Focus, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Sandra, all yours.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the invitation. I hope you can hear me all right. Okay. Oh, yeah, that works much better. So let me thank you again very much for the invitation. I think a closing statement is probably a big word, but I'm nevertheless very happy to share some points with you. And I think listening to your discussion today, one thing that has become quite obvious to me as an idea is that there is a true link between digitization and microscale technologies and fairness. So these three things really come together, and it's very clear, right? If you want to have a cook stove project beneficiaries really participate in this market, there has to be digital tools to help with the monitoring and to make that all accessible. So what I just wanted to throw in there, which maybe is also obvious, is the link to a concept which is called the program of activities, which have enabled these microscale technologies to access the market, right? And was something that was developed, I think, in only by 2009, and really was a game changer for these microscale technologies by allowing programs to have their own activity cycle to expand over time and save transaction costs. And on that note, we have just done some work around program of activities, which has been commissioned by the Foundation Future of the Carbon Market from Germany, to see where do POAs stand, because we don't hear so much of them at this point in time. And so we've done a mapping exercise together with colleagues from GFA Perspectives and Mexico too, to first of all see where are we now, how do POAs still hold up in the pipeline, and how may they transition into Article 6, and what do stakeholders experience and think of it. So a key part of this work was to talk to government representatives about it. And so we asked structured questions to them around their experience with POAs, whether they still have new registered POAs recently, and how far it has helped them to lower cost, etc. So we had structured interviews and 30 plus interviews. And just want to share maybe the main outcomes of this analysis. One, that there was an overwhelming support for POAs among those whom we interviewed. So a clear need to build on what was there. We heard from practitioners that although this has helped a lot in reducing costs, it's still not perfect. So there's still some bottlenecks even in the rules. So as we move from CDM to Article 6, we might consider those. And the third aspect is in the open question part, that a lot of the government participants also said, we don't know so much about this, but we want to know more. We need capacity building. And just listening to the conversation today, I feel that digitization might also help very much in bridging that knowledge gap, right? And helping to create transparency. So yeah, I think with that, that might be quite a useful way forward. And I thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandra. Sandra, Thomas, Margaret, Ousmane, thank you for your time, and let's get together a picture. Questions? I'm sorry. Any question? Yes, we have 2 questions over there. Sylvia is going with the microphone. Okay.
Myself, Kaushal Goyal. My question is like digitization is definitely good, and this is really disruptive and will help.
If you can,
Yeah.
a little bit more, please.
I introduce again myself, Kaushal Goyal, and my question is like digitization is really good. Nobody is against it, and it is really good. But the people who are at the you can say last end of this society, like who are the poor, who are illiterate, and all that. So how will this system will ensure that they are not you can say cheated, or there is no kind of fraud? Like for me also, like I'm quite knowledgeable. I understand I consider myself quite literate, but still I am being cheated for like about 15 days back. I was cheated for $40,000 by putting some fraud email to me and everything. So considering those kind of people who are actually less literate at the last end of this society, and I would say, how would this you ensure that they can be spare of such kind of frauds and everything from this system?
Can you repeat, please, the last part? Can you? Yes.
Hello, good evening. I am Deepak.
Is you?
Yeah.
I
am Deepak Srivastava. So my question is also linked to this kind of involvement of the local communities and about the benefit of the local communities. Now, I want to ask you that in the carbon market, like voluntary carbon market is growing in a big way now. So because very true, we are enlightened as a policymaker or as a intermediary, we are enlightened. But local communities who are to be benefited, those are not enlightened actually. So therefore, when we are using the digital technology, there has to be a capacity building, skill development, at least at the leader of the community, so that the community can upload directly about the credits generated by them, and then third party can come and verify digitally and tell to the communities that this is whatever you have done is correct, and what needs to be done in the future you can say if some mistakes have been done by uploading or generating and uploading of the carbon credits. I want to say that this entire thing needs to be decentralized, because if communities will start getting benefit by directly interacting with the international carbon market, I think that will give opportunities to the communities to you can say that create more and more carbon sink and offset the emissions taking elsewhere. So I want to emphasize again that local communities play a very key role in you can say that mitigating the adverse impact of the climate change through carbon credit and carbon generating programs. So they should be the last one should be the considered most important link in entire gamut of affairs. Thank you so much.
Very good. Madam, Ousmane, Sandra.
Thank you. So these are very relevant questions, and if I understand well, is how this new technology could be used by local communities, taking into consideration some issues relative to illiteracy and some local constraints that they might face in terms of awareness, in terms of knowing how this should be used and what would be the impact, if I understand well the problematics. And I think you're definitely right. We need to build their capacity. We need to raise awareness among them. We need to let them know that there is a new commodity that is carbon, that they have benefit on that. And this is a capacity building that must be done for the local communities. I definitely agree that it should be a very inclusive and participatory approach that we have to put in place. Fortunately, we have one advantage. There is no technology barrier yet, because if you take the case of Senegal, if you go in the most remote areas, you will find a rural household having his smartphone, and he's using it on a daily basis to send money or to receive money from a parent that is abroad. So the technology barrier is not there. The only constraint, the only challenge is the awareness, and to know how to use it and how to make money out of carbon credits and how to improve their living condition by getting in this new system. So, but this is an approach that should be implemented in a very holistic and progressive manner. I do agree with you in that regard. Thank you.
Very constructive. Margaret?
I cannot agree more, and I think I go back to my last comment about including communities, because that's probably the most challenging part. Some of our project developers, especially working on small projects, micro-scale projects, express concern that, I mean, if you go to local communities, small farmers, they don't start a change because they want to earn money from carbon credits. So carbon credit is one of the many incentives that will come to the community as part of the change process. And that sort of narrative and that awareness building is still far, far behind. So I think that's where we can partner with UNFCCC and all the member countries and the local communities. We work a lot with farmers associations, because those need to be taken into consideration. Otherwise, we create a system for elite. So that's a big challenge on us, and every time we gather, we will be talking about it and how we're making progress in addressing that. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the panel. My last words will be, we as a humans are part of the problem. We create these climate and biodiversity laws and climate crisis, and we create this, but that's the bad part. But the good part is, because we create it, we are part of the solution, and today is the solution day. Thank you, Masamba, for the invitation. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, the distinguished panel. Thank you, Margaret, Thomas, Sandra, Ousmane. Thank you. Let's get together a picture.